This Bonfireside Chat Appendix is brought to you by our Patreon campaign, and more importantly, the patrons therein. You can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and meet all of the rogues gallery of lovable scamps. You've got your Riff Connors and your Brian's Wade and your Zach Johnsons and your Alison Bakers and all these artful dodgers who have decided to kick us a couple bucks a month because they're awesome and they like what we do and we like them and we like what they do and everything's great. So just head on over to Patreon.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And I'm Alex Eich.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat Appendix. It is an undead dragon giant appendix.
Fused. It is an amalgamation, yes. And this week we are reading your responses to Aldia's Keep, the Dragon Aerie, and the Dragon Shrine. And as you heard, we are once more joined by Alex. Thank you for sticking around, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. For those of you who didn't hear the main episode, shame on you. But also, if you're here, welcome. Alex writes
Mixed signals.
Yes, I know. Alex is the. I'm trying to make them into Sibyls. No. Alex is the mind and writer behind the Blighttown Beacon, which is fake news from Lordran and related kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it does good work. So we've got quite a lot of responses since we're covering a lot of ground. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started here with Jason. Jason says via contact. The bonfire in front of Aldia's Keep holds the single most poignant moment for me in Dark Souls 2. Lucatiel's demise encompasses the themes of forgetting and misconnections that run through the other stories and world of the game. And in this instance, it is singularly well put together. She finally succumbs to the curse, pleading with us to remember her and her quest, which she came achingly close to finally accomplishing, finding her brother Azlatiel. Maybe it was for the best that she never found him as a hallowed, vengeful spirit. Maybe she did, and that was what made her give in. I will always remember her name.
Man,
yeah.
I love the any kind of media where dementia plays a theme, plays a role in it. It's really poignant.
Well, because it's so real.
Yeah.
Like it is a thing that will happen to each of us.
Mm-hmm.
We will go hollow. Like we're going to forget our family member if we're lucky enough to live long enough to forget our family's names. Like that is the truth of things.
Gary.
It depends on the family.
Yeah. See, yeah. You sound well adjusted, city boy.
I'm just saying, it's 30 fucking feet to Azlatiel and she didn't make it, and that's still funny to me.
Oh man, gave him a can of peaches but no opener.
Yeah.
Dalton Markovich writes in via Facebook to say, the first bit of gameplay released for Dark Souls 2 focused on the entrance to the keep. It looked incredibly atmospheric and it got me excited to traverse a museum of dragons. While the main game still keeps a lot of the atmosphere intact, I find this area to be one of the more disappointing in the game, specifically its latter half. The area doesn't feel as much an architectural marvel, but more like an arena for fighting the game's toughest enemies. These weird creature designs lend themselves well to the thought experimentation and transmutation, but it would have been cool to see some new designs, get grotesque, and show me the horror of what Aldia's experiments brought forth. This is somewhat conveyed through the room with a piled heap of giants, but I think if they went further with this idea, it would have been even more powerful. And I pulled a gold-earned lever. I should have listened to the ground.
You should always listen to the ground.
Yeah, I know.
That's how you know when trains are coming.
Yep.
Yeah. Since when have soapstones ever been deceiving ever?
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna just start putting a bunch of beware of liar ahead in front of those. I wonder how much my Dark Souls 2 and onward philosophy of I don't want to see pre-release stuff, how much that colored how much I like this area. Mm-hmm. Because I watched one trailer for Dark Souls 2 before I decided you know what, I'm lucky if I'm going to get a couple Souls things where I get to go in fresh, so I'm going to keep that. Mm-hmm. And I've maintained with Bloodborne, I haven't watched any trailers, I haven't watched any of the alpha footage, I didn't try to get into the alpha. I just want to go into it, super fresh, which is problematic as somebody who hosts this podcast. But I think it did help with this because I didn't have that sense of disappointment at all. But I could see it if I had been like building it up.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it came right on the heels of this super sad Vendrick moment. And that worked for me. It didn't feel disappointing.
I'll throw this to you guys. Do you think this area would have lost something if it wasn't kind of repeats of these unique enemies we've seen elsewhere, and if it replaced it with kind of newer, grosser versions?
If they would have,
I kind of like
go ahead.
it.
You like it that it's called?
I kind of like it because because I mean, even though we've seen a lot of these enemies before, it gives them that sense of origin, especially when you see all those, like, not just the enemies that are still in the cages hanging from the ceiling, but like all the empty ones, because then it gives you that kind of idea on, oh, well, we already fought those.
Yeah.
Those are the
That's
ones
where
that
they came
escaped.
from.
Yeah.
They would have been two different things. Like the fact that they reused them does give it that point of origin, and that's what they're going for. If it had been, you know, totally new creatures, we would have been like, oh, Aldia was real fucked up. What does that have to do with anything we've already seen? So much other than the dragon stuff that we'd find out.
Yeah.
A compromise might be if they were like just, you know, like prototype versions of them.
Yeah.
Like if like you'd see versions of monsters that looked like they could be this thing, but they're a little bit different.
Yeah. Crimson Heads versus Lickers.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, I feel like the connection would need to even be stronger than that because, like, those things are connected, but that's not evident the way they're connected. Like, I would still want to have that flash of recognition, but have it be like maybe even something like a slightly different color and it breathes fire or something.
Yeah,
like that.
like just like a plus version of it. I mean, kind of like the difference between the rabid kobolds.
ogres.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, the difference between the rabid kobolds and the regular kobolds.
Yeah.
That would have been a good.
Yep.
Good comparison, I think.
But
I wouldn't have wanted just totally new monsters. Like that would have ruined it for me, I think.
Yeah. I think I agree. I just wanted to put it out there because the Dalton raises a good point about that. I think if they could have been more grotesque versions, that would have been sweet. But, I still like it as it is.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Alex, do you want to read Roop's message?
Okay. Well, Roops or Ruop? I don't know. I always go for all the options in case I butcher anything. To me, Aldia's Keep seemed to be a very video game-ish place. To ease your way or to find something hidden, you had to play with the game mechanics a lot. Although the bone dragon in the lobby was one of the best gotcha moments in any game, the enemies coming from the mirrors was really neat. Was a really neat thing, both in visual and bringing something new to the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't so we've been good.
I'm not sure if he means the Mirror Knights or if he's talking about the guys jumping from the paintings.
I think he's talking about the
I know,
Mirror Squires.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's, I don't know. I feel like right after the Mirror Knight. I don't know. Just the whole new thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been looking for Sens. I mean, and this is, and when I say looking for Sens, the explicitly video gamey, like, what the hell is this kind of place? And very much this does play out like a mini boss rush, more than any other area in the game, I think. I
always thought of Iron Keep as more Sensy.
Yeah.
To me. I wanted to say that enough, and I'm tired enough to where I didn't just say stop making sense, which is what I was going to say to you. But I'm sleepy, so I didn't. Stop making sense, making sense. But thank you, Roop. Yes, thank you, Alex, for that. Yeah, you listen to the show. Like, we're idiots. It's not the. Hopefully this is shattering no illusions about terrible dad humor on Fireside Chat, because I'm not a smart man. Mega says Vine Contact. I haven't been very good about putting in feedback on the games, but I had to write in about these areas because they're my favorites. Aldia's Keep, what a fantastic atmosphere. So many of the levels were ruins after ruins and castle after castle. So this immense mansion with so much character and lore soaked into it was such a relief. Walking into the main hallway with the experiments hung up everywhere. Nothing but some flimsy bars between you and enough monsters to kill you 100 times over. It's fantastic. I'm still mad that the preview video I watched spoiled the big moving dragon skeleton in the main lobby for me. The dragon Aerie / shrine were very beautiful too, inspired and different in feel from the rest of the game. I enjoyed meandering around, trying to find all the secrets while senselessly murdering drakes. The long swing bridge, the gorgeous, suspiciously, and Orlando-like palace, and the giant ancient dragon and the impossibly vast empty platform, all very rad. I know they probably felt like they couldn't have too many pretty areas while keeping the game feeling dark, but I still wish they could have had more places like the Aerie or Hade's Tower of Flame. Also, fuck those exploding zombies. That goes back to like one of the very first episode of the show, or the very first one where we talked about Majula, where like I feel like Dark Souls 2 has the courage to be pretty,
Yeah.
in a way that the other games don't.
Yep.
And this really supports that.
Yeah. I like it. I feel like it's supported. Like there can be this kind of like untouched natural place, right? You know, like nature reclaiming a place or nature integrating with, you know, human architecture doesn't have to be decay, you know?
It's kind of like if you've ever played the game that no one played, Enslaved.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, that one. That's an apocalypse I'd actually enjoy being in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've explored corruption enough.
Yep.
You know, like it's great, and I'm always happy to see it. But like, it's okay to do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, yeah.
Bethesda, don't let this discourage you from making Fallout 4. We still want that.
Yeah, exactly. It can be corruption and decay there.
That's where the corruption decay lives.
Yeah.
We didn't really mention that crazy platform the Ancient Dragon is on. Like,
Yeah,
aesthetically, it's really neat and kind of like in a creepy way, and how perfect and vast it is. Like, I always run out to the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to imagine below it is a giant cat tree. Like it's just the top of a cat tree, and there's all these little cubby holes inside.
And he's just up
things
there
for him to lay
basking.
on. Yep.
Yeah.
Just hanging out in the sun. He just roars in the window.
I always just I'm on that platform and I'm just like, look at all this space that he can still breathe fire on.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they designed it. He just breathed fire, and then they just made a platform as big as the radius of it, more or less.
Oh. David writes in via contact saying, I absolutely loved Aldia's Keep and the Dragon Aerie. In honesty, Dark Souls 2 was disappointing me in the lead up to this area. All of the bosses from the castle on were great, and the Vendrick reveal was absolutely incredible, but many areas were leaving me uninterested. Amana and the castle were both beautiful, but I felt their initial charm wore off as I played. The ramp up to Aldia hooked me fast, however. That first shaking cart seriously freaked me out, and our big skeleton friend scared the shit out of me in the best, most sincere way. The initial shock of the reveal, the confusion, the realization of what was about to happen just before it did. Perfect. The transition into the Dragon area left me breathless as well. I had to just stop and admire it for a while before continuing on. I don't think I've been so awestruck by a Souls area since Ash Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All agreed.
Yep.
I don't think I have anything to add to that.
No,
But well said.
definitely.
Alex, we want to read Fran's here?
Okay, Fran says of his Aerie invasion story, the Aerie was the location of my favorite invasion. When I dropped down to a ledge to grab an item, I got invaded. The only way back except dying was to use the feather, but that one was disabled because of the invader. I was quite fond of my current collection of souls, so I decided to wait. I cast a chameleon and method acted a vase on a ledge for about 25 minutes.
Jeez,
Every once in a while, I saw my glowing red invader running past in the distance or flying over me on a zip line. His search for a target got increasingly more frantic and desperate until he slipped and fell from the rocks. When I feathered back to the bonfire, I discovered he kindly opened the shortcut for me. The run from the shrine bonfire to the ancient dragon really reminded me of the repeated run to Ornstein and Smo. This made defeating the dragon twice as satisfying and the shrine one of my favorite areas in the game.
Whoa. That first part's great. That second part, that made it more satisfying for you. You're a more patient man than I, because like
he waited 25 minutes play acting as a vase.
Exactly. You're clearly
This
like
guy's
a fair
Andy
amount of
fucking
patience.
Dufresne.
Yeah, are you Arno?
Have you guys seen there's the YouTube video where the guy wears all of the hollowed knight armor in the Forest of Fallen Giants, kills that first one with the halberd, but like leads it away from its initial position, so it looks like he basically hides that body, and then gets invaded and then pretends to be that hallowed knight until the time runs out. And it's one of the most fantastic Dark Souls videos I had ever seen, and that's what this reminds me of.
Well, it's the best when he starts fucking with him and starts dropping carvings.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is fantastic.
I I love the little commentary too, where it's like what the other guy is thinking. Where it's just like, what the fuck? Where is this guy?
Yeah.
God damn it!
It was really good motion tracking on that too.
Yeah, super good. Simon Thornton says via Facebook, the Dragon Aerie is the perfect example of how Dark Souls 2 was designed around set pieces that don't link together at all. But it's okay because they decided the Dark Souls 2 lore will explain it by saying it's a cycle. Disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't understand, like, what part is a cycle? Like, I don't actually understand can't parse out the comment.
Yeah, I don't know how the cycle applies here. Except to say that kind of like everything in the game is meant to be a part of something else.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose so. Like, I could see this feels like two different complaints, like linked by a but to me. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I just don't, like, they're both valid complaints. I just don't understand how they relate.
Yeah.
Because the cycle stuff that they explain to me has more to do with the story, and then more to do a little bit with like why the Lordran stuff shows up, but not why the areas are disconnected or designed through set pieces.
And plus, like, just these 3 levels and specifically seem more connected than many of the other levels in this game.
Yeah. Like that isn't really a
lore-wise.
criticism of this place, at least. Like lore or even mechanically, like this area could be out behind, like you go through the keep for quite a while. Like this doesn't break any laws of spacey wastiness, at least as far as I can tell.
Yeah, the only complaint I see about it being disconnected is, you can't see those giant rock spires from Aldia's Keep. And it's like, well, it's fucking Silent Hill when you get into Aldia's Keep. Of course you're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
Well, and it's far, too. Like, they could be, like, there could be a cliff on the other edge very easily. Like, the Aldia's Keep is long. Like, it is a huge hallway. Like, you go quite a ways. So, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't break it. I'm just saying it doesn't explicitly break it as much as something else does.
Yeah, it's no run from let's say Earthen Peak to Iron Keep.
Hides.
Yeah.
It's no
hides.
Yeah.
It's no elevator to nowhere, but
Luke writes in via contact saying, Aldia's Keep and the Dragon Shrine were the areas in which I figured out the reading of Dark Souls 2 that I found most satisfying, specifically that it's a sequel about sequels. Here we see, with the most clarity, the way in which the game is built not just around the idea of cycles and repetition, but diminishing returns. Not only are these people retreading failed footsteps, but they seem to be making less of an impact each time. These vessels for the Lord Souls exist on a far smaller scale than the demigods of Dark Souls. It's entropy in action, and Aldia is doing his best to fight against it and recapture the glory of the past through his experiments, whether or not it ever really existed. The ancient dragon isn't really a dragon. Faith items aren't relics, but replicas, and tales of fakes and forgeries can be found everywhere. I think From knew that they were going to cop some flack for returning directly to the well. That we would call this. They knew that we would call this game a retread, and decided to lean into the skid, so to speak. There are hints of all this throughout the game, but here's where it first crystallized for me. As for the areas themselves, Aldia's secret lab had a cool premise, but I wish that rather than rush it into the game, they had waited and let the DLC team design it. The current level hints at the kind of nonlinear sequencing that they came back to in those levels. The Aerie 2 took a great view and failed to turn it into a level that lasts too long in the mind. I had fun running through there, but I didn't feel the need to rush and tell my friends about it since it's just another fantasy game dragon level. That said, the screenshots of it are often amazing.
Yeah, I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
Like that is interesting. And there is like a lot of like trying to recapture the past. That is brought up all the time, like fakes and forgeries, like Ben Hart talk about next episode and all that stuff, or next mainline episode.
That's borne out in
Yeah,
in the description of the Dull Ember too. Like this thing kind of headed toward this regression towards this mean of just barely being lit. Like we see all these half efforts and these forgeries and fakes and diminishing returns. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
This is like just one of the better. This is one of the better theories about Dark Souls 2 as a whole that I've seen so far. And good props to Luke. Good job.
Yep.
Good job, Luke. I think that would have been a really interesting thing that they could have explored more in the DLC. Like you bring up the DLC, since those do explicitly take place in the past, but they don't so much, which is just kind of a little bit of a missed opportunity. Like I'm not saying that discounts the theme or anything, or that conjecture, but I would have liked to have seen that more fully supported just because I like it a lot. Yeah, and I'll go ahead and close this out with Max. This is a long response. I don't want to put you through it, Alex. Max says via contact. it is pretty long. I just said not. Yeah, Max says, and it's good that it's long. The Max says via contact. Aldia's Keep is among my favorite areas in the game. It manages to imbue yet another stone castle with personality by aligning gameplay considerations with lore. Dark Souls 2 doesn't handle show don't tell as well as the original, but Aldia's Keep successfully communicates through level and encounter design. 1. Our progression through the level mirrors the arc of Aldia's obsession. Our jaw drops as we see a massive skeletal dragon, much how he must have first encountered them. We progress through the hallways crowded with caged test subjects and flanked by research labs. Progress is slow and gory, just like science. Note, I have an incomplete understanding of science. Eventually, we emerge into the giddy sun. Yeah, that's probably pretty true. Eventually, we emerge into the giddy, sun-burnished heights of the cliffs above the castle where we find the guardian dragon, a key success for Aldia. We encounter several creatures that previously seemed unusual, even for Drangleic. That giant basilisk that dropped a dragon bone makes much more sense when we see one here. It's giant because of the dragon bone. The dragon bone was inside it because Aldia put it there as an experiment toward his ultimate success, the ancient dragon. 3. The beautiful surprise when the knights emerge from the mirrors suggests early experiments towards creating the Looking Glass Knight and his shield. Royal Sorcerer Navlin is a puzzle. Quote unquote, he's Aldia is nonsensical. People want everyone in this game to be Aldia. I consider Duke Seldora to be the likeliest candidate if Aldia appears in the game at all. But I've never thought of that before. It's kind of interesting. The best answer I've seen is from a Reddit user, You're the Worst Ever, whose theory relies on Navlin's dialogue and some interesting flavor text on a staff found in the crypt. Too long, didn't read. Olenford, the sorcerer, attempted to learn about a darker form of sorcery that mankind could understand. To this end, he ventured into the undead crypt and became possessed by Navlin. The royal sorcerer Navlin is Olenford, who lost his ability to control his own body and actions and is instead controlled by a maniacal wizard who was executed long ago with his entire village for delving into magic no human should. And I'll put in that link in the show notes, and I need to read it because I don't know how viable it is. Overall, the lore surrounding Aldia, dragons, and the Emerald Herald is disappointing to me. There isn't enough information about what happened to speculate meaningfully on the character's goals and motivations. Dark Souls was so tightly calibrated. It left just enough gaps in just the right places, perfectly evoking the emotional experience that young Miyazaki had when he tried to read Western fantasy without a perfect command of English. Dark Souls 2 is more sprawling and less focused, but to the extent that it suffers, it does so only in comparison to its predecessor. This is a Temple of Doom situation, not a Crystal Skull catastrophe. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like, I think that is the and even though I think the Aldia Dragons and Emerald Herald stuff works for me, I just can't fit it into Nashandra.
Yeah.
Like, that's my issue. But
yeah,
interesting. I want to read that theory and see about that with Olenford. And the Duke Seldora is interesting because the place is called Brightstone. It's called Brighttown. Population Seldoras. Brightstone Seldora. And Seldora, like, we know that as a name because his name is Duke Seldora. But I wonder if, like, Seldora could also be a word for a place. Like Brightstone Seldora. He's Duke Seldora because he's from the place, but his real name is Aldia.
Yeah. I can't like bring up a citation. I think it's implied that it is named after him.
Oh, okay. I mean, that could be true too. I just never thought about that before. And also, given now that all the DLCs are out, Seldora is the character with the least expansion or no expansion through them. So, but thank you. That's a great comment.
Yeah.
And that idea of it mirroring his descent into research and madness is really cool. Yeah. Great comment, Max.
But I'm great comment, but I must say fuck you for reminding me that Crystal Skull exists.
Yeah. And also thank you for not saying Temple of Doom is the worst Indiana Jones, because it was my first, and I still hold a lot of affection for that bonkers ass movie.
I would like to see a citation, and Gary, you might be able to provide this, of where Miyazaki has said that Dark Souls kind of arose from his incomplete understanding of English Western fantasy.
I know that he was. I think it's in the game design. Yeah, I think it might be in the game design interview.
Okay.
Because Steve Jackson's Sorcery, that game book, was one of the first things he read, and he talked about how big of an influence that was.
Yeah. It's probably been a very long time since I've read that.
Yeah.
In fact, it has
yeah,
been
like-
a long time since I read
Yeah, it's a weird thing to go back and just read like 6 pages of interviews. Like I read it once a week, keep myself fresh. We don't do that. People are listening. But yeah, thanks to everybody who wrote in. This is a uniformly excellent round of comments, and thanks again to Alex for sticking around.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Where can people find you, Alex?
They can find me at blighttownbeacon.tumblr.com or Alex_Eich if you are looking on Twitter.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And there'll be links in the show notes for the main episode of those. And we've been recording for a long time, and Kole is about to collapse, and I am a hungry boy, so we're not going to keep you too much longer. But you know all the normal stuff to do: ratings, reviews, check out our other work, and stay tuned for some deleted scenes.
Yeah. Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
Cool.
If they're listening to this when the episode drops, I mean, like right after it, they can probably still come out to PRGE.
That's
Because-
true. If you're hearing this, run.
Yeah.
Get a plane ticket right now.
Yeah, it's
Portland.
but before 4 p.m., get out there.
Yeah, and you'll catch the very end of
Yeah,
it.
I am uploading this.
So-
I'm uploading this from the hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
Okay. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thanks, bud.
Cool.
Get my stirring out of the way. Get my Foley spoon noises recorded.
Yeah.
Like,
Can you do YYZ?
ding, 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 ding. All right.
Yeah. Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Not much. Having bad stomach.
I was having a little bit of that too. I was kind of amazed I managed to get home and poop
Oh, wow.
before getting on to record.
Yeah.
So it's a real speed dating situations going on with that bad boy.
Speed chess. Okay, a version of speed chess where there's one timer at the computer, a one timer at the toilet.
Yeah, and you just go back and forth. And you just shit with old Jewish guys in the park.
Yep. The savant homeless.
Yeah.
Just a toilet and a chessboard.
Like, oh, that's a good idea. Like you just sit at a toilet while playing chess.
Well, I'm sure the Soviet Union, like when, in the middle of the Cold Chess War, they developed that in
Yeah.
order to train there.
Yeah, or like on a sub where there's not very much space.
Oh, yeah.
Like and you don't want to waste all your time not playing chess.
Yeah. Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it. 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 Wizard did it.